Hello there, I'm Jenna Kadow. Thanks so much for joining the channel. I want to go a little bit over, so we're getting all this great energy, the awakening, people are waking up, people are shifting, growing, gaining new insights, and starting along a spiritual path that is really hard to navigate when you don't understand the differences between what's coming from spirit or your intuition and what's coming from your ego. So, we're going to talk a little bit about that and teach you how to work with your own awakening. So, we can all agree that we have intuition. And intuitive sense is a very subtle, usually unconscious energy that expresses itself to our consciousness via whatever sense is the most awakened within us. Okay? So, the sense that's the most awakened within you is the sense that your intuition uses to communicate with you. So, claircognizance, that's thought. So, when a thought pops in your head, it will usually be very quiet and subtle. It won't make a big announcement. It'll just be a thought that comes to you. It feels like light. It doesn't have any attachment to anything. It's just a thought. So those thoughts are intuitive thoughts. Now, it can also come to you through visuals. So by visuals, I mean your mind's eye. The picture that comes into the mind, your mind's eye. Okay? So it's not a three-dimensional, like you're seeing a vision in front of you with your physical eyes. It's always internal. Okay? So sometimes you'll get an image of a person and that person calls, right? So that's your clairvoyance. Now, then there's the other one that is the feeling sense. Just get a feeling that something's going to happen. You get a feeling when you walk into a room. You understand the energy of the room. You're very tuned into it. So that is clairsentience, the empathic ability. Okay. So then the other one is why? Feeling. Oh, hearing, right? Audible. Clairaudience. So the clairaudience is the hearing. So usually that's a voice, your intuitive voice, speaking through your inner dialogue. Okay? Okay. Now then. So to understand when it is not your imagination and when it is your intuitive sense, you really have to pay attention to your own mental process, to what goes through your mind, to understand when it's intuition, when it's your ego, and when it's your imagination, and stuff like that. So I suggest keeping track of when something happens. It when you get, let's say, everybody has this experience where they've thought of someone and they call. So I want you to pay attention to when that happens next time and see if it comes when you get the hit that someone's going to call, or you get the hit and then someone calls. Does it come as a visual, like in your mind's eye? Is it a picture of them? Or is it a feeling of them? Like you just get a feeling, a sense of them? Or is it a thought? It just pops into your mind that they just pop into your mind for no reason. There's no preceding thought. It just drops in. Okay? So that's your intuition. And then, or you may hear their name just may pop into your mind. You know, you may hear the name in your inner dialogue, suddenly their name comes up. Okay? So that would be your intuition. So I want you to pay attention to those times when it happens. And you don't need to do anything extra other than just know your own mind. Just know that it's happening. So it's usually very, very subtle, very quiet. Pay attention to how your intuition is coming to you. But you also have to be a little bit aware of how your mind works, how your thoughts work. Now, some people use meditation as a way to settle their mind, to really understand, to watch their thoughts, they call it, to understand what's going on in their head. I don't really recommend intuit or meditation right away because it's a bit of a chore and people just don't like to do it. So I would suggest instead of meditating, pay attention to when you're in a meditative state. And you're in a meditative state when you're taking a shower. You're in a meditative state when you're doing the dishes. You're in a meditative state when you're driving the car. And you're in the meditative state sometimes listening to music, going on walks, and so forth. So those are the times when you can really have a little bit of quiet to pay attention to how your mind is flowing, how your thoughts are flowing, and what it feels like when it's just your thoughts running through their normal process, and what it feels like when you get something drop in that doesn't have any attachment to any other thought. It's not on the train of thought, it's just dropping in outside of that train of thought. Okay? So try this out. These little moments of meditation that we have can be super useful and really help us grow leaps and bounds when we're not even sitting down doing a very practiced or disciplined meditation. We do it all day long. We have times of meditation all day long. So pay attention in those times. Just watch your thoughts. Where does your mind go? How does it feel? Now, a lot of times when we get inspiration, new ideas, or answers to troubles, we're in the shower, or we're doing the dishes, or we're driving the car, or we're just waking up. A lot of times that can come too. When you wake up, sometimes people get a lot of answers, so you could pay attention to that moment, those moments of just between sleep and waking, and see how things come to you. Simply pay attention. Now, there's a lot of stuff on empaths, so about feeling senses, and we're going to go into it a little bit more because I think that's the most common of all these that I've mentioned: seeing, hearing, feeling, and thinking. Seeing, hearing, feeling, and thinking. Of all these things, most people have at least 2 or 3 of them that they utilize all the time. So sometimes you may get a visual, sometimes you may get a feeling, sometimes you may get a thought, sometimes you may hear it. So you kind of have to also be open that it's going to sometimes vary in different ways, coming to you in different ways. As you start working with this, as you start just paying attention to it, it's going to get bolder and louder. I always think of it as like, all those little chit chat going on in your head is like a classroom, right? And your ego is the really loud, obnoxious kid who always has his hand up and thinks he knows the answers, but he's always wrong. And then the kid in the back of the room, though, when you call on them, they're always right and they always have all the answers, but they're very quiet and they don't talk unless you pay attention. But once you start paying attention, they're going to really start talking. So start paying attention to how it's coming to you, work with it, and know that when you're right, one way to know that when you're right, when it's your intuition, it's always right. It's never wrong. Your intuition is always right. Your ego is always wrong. Now, your ego is guessing, but usually it's wrong. I've never known my ego to be right, ever. Always wrong. So pay attention to that too. So when you're wrong, if you get a little intuitive hit, like, oh, I just thought of so and so, and nothing happens, they don't call you, it's just such a random thought coming to you. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that you thought of it and then it was gone. It doesn't mean anything. So don't beat yourself up if you think you're wrong. Just sort of wait and see. Always have the attitude of wait and see. Let's experiment with this. Let's see how this is going to work. This is an extraordinary practice and a super fun exploration, experiment. Let's see how this works. Let's see how it works for you. And so have fun with this. Again, I recommend at least a week of working with it. If you have any questions or it wasn't quite clear or whatever, just please send me an email, call me, leave a comment, whatever you want to do. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and I'll see you next time.